Welcome in the video. I am Dr. Vinita Bhadoria, Associate Professor of English, Government College, Behrood. Chandalika is prescribed in BA Part 2. It is written by Rabindranath Tagore. It is a short play of 2 acts. Today I am discussing Chandalika with you. Chandalika was the play written by the Bengali poet and dramatist Rabindranath Tagore. It was a Nritya Natika published in 1933. Chandalika is a story of a girl from the untouchable caste of India. Her life as a woman and then as an untouchable woman is full of rejection and ridicule. This short drama is based on the Buddhist legend. Anand, the famous disciple of the Buddha, was one day returning from a visit when he felt thirsty and approaching a well on the way asked for water from a Chandalika, a girl belonging to the lowest untouchable caste. The girl gave him water and fell in love with the beautiful monk. Unable to restrain herself, she made her mother, who knew the art of magic, work her spell on him. The spell proved stronger than Ananda's will, and the spellbound monk presented himself at their house at night. But as he saw the girl spread the couch for him, he was overcome with shame and remorse and prayed inwardly to his master to save him. The Buddha heard the prayer and broke the magic spell, and Ananda went away as pure as he came. This crude plot of the popular tale, showing how the psychic power of the Buddha saves his devotee from the lust of a Chandal girl, has been transformed by the poet into a psychological drama of intense spiritual conflict. It is not the story of a wicked girl roused to lust by the physical beauty of the monk, but of a very sensitive girl condemned by her birth to a despised caste who is suddenly awakened to a consciousness of her full rights as a woman by the humanity of a follower of the Buddha, who accepts water from her hand and teaches her to judge herself not by the artificial values that society attaches to the accidents of the birth, but by her capacity for love and service. So, this is a summary of the whole play in brief. She questions her existence when one day a Buddhist monk asks her for her. She refuses as a low caste girl cannot give water to a spiritual high class monk. A story that fights social discrimination, women's identity, and questions aspects of the universal concept of love. The dance pieces will consist of Kathak and folk dances because it is a Nritya Natika. It illustrates Tagore's bold and perceptive experimentation with various literary forms and techniques and the radical nature of his ideological orientation. Among the dance dramas of Tagore, Chandalika has a special place as it foregrounds the theme of female desire in an untouchable girl, a tabooed subject in his time. Chandalika is a highly symbolic play. The symbols are organically connected with the theme and the story. Tagore showcases the intersections of caste, class, and gender, as well as the evolution of selfhood in Prakriti, the Chandal girl. It is a story of a low caste girl adopted from a Buddhist tale. Its theme relates to a psychic phenomena. It shows how the psychic power of Buddha saves a monk named Ananda from the lust of a Chandal girl. Tagore has transformed it into a drama of intense spiritual conflict. It depicts the conflict between the soul and the body. The setting of the play indicates the limitations of the society. Chandalika is a tragedy of self consciousness overreaching its limits. Self consciousness is necessary to self development, for without an awareness of the dignity of one's own role or function, one cannot give one's best to the world. Without rights, there can be no obligations, and service and virtue, when forced, become mark of slavery. But self consciousness, like good wine, easily intoxicates. As I told you, the whole play is highly symbolical. The body wants to have its union with the soul, but the soul feels degradation. Because he falls under the spell of mother, though he has not to be attracted with the temporal beauty, the soul is above than the material. It is the setting of the play indicates the limitations of society, as I have said you. The well, where Anand and Prakriti met for the first time, are the sources of life, and the water signifies life itself. In the beginning of the play, Prakriti is not aware that she is also a human being and a member of society like others. When Ananda comes to Prakriti to drink water at the well and asks for the water, Prakriti says that she is a Chandal girl. Ananda says through the speech of Prakriti, if the black clouds of Shravana are dubbed Chandal, he said, what of it? It does not change their nature or destroy the virtue of their water. Don't humiliate yourself. He said, self humiliation is a sin whose then self worse than self murder. There are only three characters in the play in which Ananda is not physically present. We came to know about Ananda only through the speeches of Prakriti. And Prakriti and her mother is physically present in the play. So Prakriti is the heroine of the play, belongs to a low caste. She represents womanhood and nature in the play. She is highly sensitive, worshipper of beauty, full of love and consciousness of her rights. After the great revelation for her, which she calls a new birth, for she is washed clean of her self degradation and rises up a full human being with the right to love and give. And since her own self is the most she can give, and since none is more worthy to the gift of her surrender than the bhikshu who has redeemed, or as she puts it, created her, she earns to offer herself to him. But Ananda, detached from all earthly cares and immersed in his inner self, knows nothing of all this and passes by without recognizing her. So, she is simply a woman. She is humiliated, wounded in her newly awakened sensibility, and determines to drag the monk from his pride of renunciation to the abjectness of desire for her. She has lost all religious scruple or fear, for she owed nothing to religion save her humiliation. She is highly sensitive, worshipper of beauty, full of love and consciousness of her rights as a woman. She symbolizes a human body which is full of earthly pleasures and wants to fulfill her desires at any cost. That she forces her mother to exercise her art of magic on Ananda. She refers to it as the primeval spell, the spell of the earth, which is far more potent than the immature sadhana of the monks. The spell of the earth proves its force, and Ananda is dragged to their door, his face distorted with agony and shame. Seeing her Redeemer so noble and resplendent before, thus cruelty transformed and degraded, she is horrified at the selfish and destructive nature of her desire. Prakriti represents the marginalized human world who is in conflict with the spiritual world of Ananda. Prakriti becomes a symbol of revolt against this age old malady of the Indian society after the divine preaching of monk. Ananda is the legendary Buddhist monk, the follower of Lord Buddha, signifies humanity and soul. The soul wants to become one with God and not interested in earthly affairs. Ananda opens the blind and subjugated mind of Prakriti with the divine preaching of equality and makes her aware other self. Mother of Prakriti signifies motherhood, consciousness, and importance of experience in the world. As Prakriti's mother also represents the marginalized human world. Only due to her daughter's love for her, the mother revokes the spell and willingly pays the price of such revocation, which is death. So it is motherhood. The Chandalika is redeemed for the second time, past the pride and egoism that had made her forget that love does not claim possession but gives freedom. So, we can say that Chandalika is a tragedy of self consciousness over reaching its limit. Self consciousness, up to a point, is necessary to self development, for without an awareness of the dignity of one's own role or function, one cannot give one's best to the world. Without rights, there can be no obligation, and service and virtue, when forced, become marks of slavery. But self consciousness, like good wine, easily intoxicates. It is difficult to control the dose and have just enough of it. Vanity and pride get the upper hand, and he who clings to his rights very often trespasses on those of others. This is what happened to the heroine. Prakriti, in her eagerness to give, forgot that Ananda need not take. Her devotion grew so passionate that she could not make her surrender without first possessing. Yet it was inevitable that it should be so, for a new consciousness, after ages of suppression, is overpowering, and one learns restraint only after suffering. Hence the tragedy, the good mother who so unwillingly worked the spell to please her importunate daughter, and who so willingly revoked it to save Ananda, dies in the process. The daughter, though chastened and made wise by suffering, has paid a heavy price, for wisdom is not happiness and renunciation is not fulfillment. This is the central idea bring through this play. This is all about Chandalika by Rabindranath Tagore, and this is all in this video. Thank you very much.